Hey guys, what's up? This is Steve from Slurv. This is Cash Game Cornerstones for MLB. Thursday, May 12th. We got a pretty nice slate going on. I hope you watched yesterday, and I hope you listened to me, as I suggested that you pair up either Syndergaard or hopefully Kershaw, because he had 20 strikeouts, with Chen, who had like 12 strikeouts. And honestly, I'm not going to lie, that's better than I expected him to do. I was hoping for like 7 and 6 innings, so 12. And, 6 innings and the win is just gravy. So hope you listened to that. And I got some more picks for you today. Don't love the pitching as much as I do some days. We got Clayton Kershaw on the mound, which instantly puts him into #1 consideration for cash games. Basically, you got to decide how ballsy you feel fading Kershaw. He is really expensive, 13.3 on DK and 12.5 on FanDuel. On FanDuel, especially with just the way they give away batters, I don't see any reason to play anyone besides Kershaw in cash. Just too much upside, too little downside, and the rest of the options aren't that great. On DK, I don't hate some other options. We got Vincent Velasquez going against Atlanta. If you played Eichhoff yesterday, you learned that Atlanta are not always the pushovers, but they are mostly. We were having a little discussion about this in the Slurv chat earlier. It's part of why I'm a little bit late today. Me and Adam and Eric we're discussing Vincent Velasquez, and they're concerned about his lack of upside at the price. He is expensive, 10.9 on DK. He's only 9.1 on FanDuel if you don't go that way on FanDuel. But I still think he's a very safe cash option. I want to do some more digging and look into his upside for tournament stuff. But for cash, I still think he's a safe option. And probably your safest bet on the day, if you can fit in the bats, is to pair Kershaw and Velasquez on DK. But there's also a couple of cheaper guys worth taking a look at. I'll tell you who's not worth taking a look at also is Dallas Keuchel. I know his price on DK is like ridiculous, is 6.6. I even wrote him down in my first pass over the notes, just as sort of a, whoa, sticker shock thing. But no, don't go there. Bad matchup. He hasn't been the same Keuchel that he was in good years. Just lots of bad indicators there. But what I who I do like, who's really underpriced on DK as well, is Zach Greinke. Kind of a tough matchup versus San Francisco. Actually, a really tough matchup versus San Francisco. And it's in Arizona, which is more of a hitter's ballpark, but it is also at home for Greinke. 8.4 on DK. He's 10.9 on FanDuel to sort of illustrate the difference there. There is risk, obviously, but I feel like that's mitigated by that price. He put up, I think, 26 DK points against San Francisco earlier this year. Granted, that was in San Francisco, which is a much friendlier ballpark for pitchers, but still, I think he deserves your consideration there. Also, another guy that carries some risk is Nathan Eovaldi going up against the Royals, who've just had really low run totals. And yesterday I even said, I expect them to score more runs than Vegas does, and they did. Beat that total in the first or second inning. But I think Eovaldi has a chance to do well here. He's only 7,700 on DK. I think he makes a really nice starting pitcher too. He's there's risk. It's the Royals. The Royals can hit, although they haven't been hitting as well this season so far. Eovaldi shows some great stuff sometimes, and then also just fails to put up 7 innings that are quality, or 6. I'd take 6. 6 would be fine. So I think your best bets are, just go with Kershaw on FanDuel. On DK, if you can afford it, safest pay up for Kershaw and Velasquez. Otherwise, pair either Kershaw, or if you're really feeling ballsy and want to spend up on bats on DK, I don't totally hate pairing Velasquez with either Greinke or Eovaldi, but I'd rather do it with Kershaw. It was also a great night for my Dong Finder model, which I'm I'm starting to be able to say without snickering. Of the 36 players rated 75 or above in the model, 9 of them hit home runs. 25%. It's a pretty damn good rate. So I'm actually going to be doing a video later with some of my top picks for today from the Dong Finder model. So keep an eye out for that later on today. Batters, a couple notes in general. The Orioles, who have been hitting hot, are ridiculously underpriced on FanDuel. Like I don't know, it's hard not to stack them. I think I'll highlight some guys individually. The Yankees are generally underpriced, kind of on both sites. Kind of differs between which site, which guy is more underpriced. And just some other good and interesting spots here. So starting off at catcher, got a guy that I love to highlight who may or may not be in the lineup, but they've been getting him in lately. Chris Herman versus Cueto. So it's a tougher matchup, but I don't think it's terrible. And his price 2.6 on DK, 2.4 on FanDuel, very, very reasonable. I mentioned Baltimore. They've got Mike Pelfrey today, and I like targeting bats against Pelfrey. Which sounds like the name of a segment or like a bad metal band. But one guy to look at here is Matt Wieters. He hasn't really been doing much lately. I'd kind of forgotten about him, to be completely honest with you. 3.5 on DK, so a little bit pricey there, but only 2.3 on FanDuel, just like the rest of the Orioles. Matt underpriced. You could certainly do worse. This is on a FanDuel only play because he's listed at first base on DK. Victor Martinez going up against Mike Wright, another guy that I like to target, not a good pitcher. And Martinez also just owns him BVP-wise, 9 of 29, 4 home runs. So it definitely, good play either way you want to look at it, whether from a BVP side or just a straight numbers for today side. And then one more guy for DK, because I don't really like Wieters at that price on DK. I would rather pay $400 more and get LaCroix versus Shields. Shields is a guy prone to giving up home runs, and right-handed batters have been having success against him. 3.9 on DK, 2.9 on FanDuel. He's not out of play there either, but I'd probably rather go 100 more and get Martinez, or go 600 less and get Wieters. But on DK, he fills that expensive role well, and Herman if you want to go cheap. On that note of LaCroix, I generally like right-handed bats against him today, right-handed bats against Shields, so Brewers right-handers. Chris Carter is another one, 4.1 on DK, only 3.2 on FanDuel. Nice bit of bargain there. However, on FanDuel, I'm just going to say that Chris Davis is by far my top play there. He's 5.2 on DK, and I don't hate him there either. But he's only 4.1 on FanDuel. I need more ways to say that they're giving players away. I got to come up with some new phrases for it because they just keep doing it. It's kind of killing me. If you absolutely need value at first base, which I don't see why you would, but Brian Howard hit a home run last night. He gets Blair today. Not a scary matchup. He's only 2.1 on FanDuel. It's the only reason I mention him as a pure salary relief option. And then on DK, a salary relief option, but not purely so. Assuming he gets back in the lineup today, Mark Teixeira against Ian Kennedy. Good record, BVP-wise, good numbers today. It's only 3,400 on DK. I love Chris Davis, but the $1,800 discount there is huge, and I think Teixeira has a good chance of having a really nice game too. But make sure you check the lineup because he's been out for a couple days. Second base on FanDuel is easy for me today. Jonathan Schoop is 2.2, 2,200. That's just ridiculous. He is a full 4K on DK, which is a much more reasonable price. Again, taking on Mike Pelfrey, good guy to target. Also, I like Chase Utley going up against Bartolo, who has had quite a year this year, but that might help keep some of this ownership down. Utley's 3.7 on DK. He's 3.0 on FanDuel, so I like him a lot less there, especially given Schoop's price. And then also, the Red Sox have just been crazy hot. They get Dallas Keuchel, I was talking about earlier. I'm really hoping that people are on Keuchel and that drives Red Sox ownership down. But I wouldn't, I'm kind of 50-50 on how that's going to go. I have to check Twitter, see what people are saying. But on that note, Pedroia has been a part of that. He's not my favorite play on the Red Sox, but he is a decent play at DK where he's only 4.3. He's 3.9 on FanDuel. He's out of consideration for me there. But since he's only 300 more than Shope and 600 more than Utley, he's definitely in consideration if you want to get a piece of that Boston game and you don't like the other two options. At third base, a guy that highlights most of the slates that he plays on is Manny Machado. Although I'll mention him again in the shortstop section, but I do recommend him at shortstop for DK. Although, looking at it, there's not that many great options at third base today, in my opinion, at least safe ones. So Machado's 5.4 on DK. He's expensive. You're going to pay up for the Orioles there, but they're reasonably priced. That's how they should be priced. On FanDuel, he's only 4.3. He's joining Chris Davis and Jonathan Shope in the Orioles fire sale. I also like, especially on DK, Matt Carpenter going against Jared Weaver, who just loves to throw fly balls and has been giving up a decent amount of hard contact. Carpenter likes to hit hard. He had two-dong night just the other night. Generally speaking, lefties on the Cardinals are in a good spot today. 4.4 on DK, 4.0 on FanDuel. I see no reason to go away from Machado on FanDuel. But I do like this Arizona game as well. I mentioned a couple guys from there. And depending on who's in the lineup, I like either Lamb and or Drury versus Cueto. Lamb is only 3.3 on DK, and Drury is only 2.9. Lamb is 3.2 on FanDuel. Again, I have no reason to go away from Machado there. And Drury is not a third baseman. He's an outfielder. But I don't hate the sort of punt option with Lamb or Drury at third base there, since you can get Machado in at shortstop. So while I definitely love playing Machado at shortstop and love that DK lets us do that sometimes, there are some other options that I like, particularly some cheaper options. Corey Seager going up against Bartolo Colon. His price on DK has been out of whack for a little while. He's still 3.7. It's 4.0 on FanDuel. Not really on my radar there. Seager had a bit of a return to form last night, which I will say was kind of predicted by the Dong Finder. He was about 77 rated, I want to say. He's one of those 9 players above 75 that went yard. And against Syndergaard, which I don't think too many people expected given his ownership percentage. So against Colon, I definitely don't hate him because Bartolo is not the pitcher that Thor is, and 3.7 is a great price for Corey Seager. Going back to Boston, we got Xander Bogaerts, who's been having nice time. He hasn't been crushing it the way, say, Jackie Bradley Jr. has, but he's been having some nice games in there too. And 4.4 on DK, kind of a midpoint between Seager and Machado there. 4.1 on FanDuel. I'm iffy on that price, really. Who I do really like on FanDuel is Brandon Crawford, going up against Greinke, so, tougher matchup. But a little spoiler from today's upcoming Dong Finder video, Crawford is very, very highly rated in that. He's only 2,800 on FanDuel. Perfect place to save a little bit of money since there's not really a Oriole that I love there. He's 3.7 on DK, so same as Seager. I don't hate him at that price, but for my money, I'm playing Seager or going up to Machado. In the outfield, I mentioned there's a couple of Yankees that I like that are underpriced. Dustin Ackley, if he gets into the starting lineup, 2.9 on DK. He's one of the few cheap outfielders that I really like on DK. There's kind of a lack of cheap outfielders. He's bare minimum 2.0 on FanDuel, so great value there, though you probably don't need it as much. Because on FanDuel, you got guys like Adam Jones, who is breaking out finally. He's been having a great couple games, also predicted by the Dong Finder. He's only 2.6 on FanDuel. FanDuel, stop, please. This loose pricing is killing me. It's killing me. He's 4.4 on DK. That's a reasonable price. Hire me to do pricing if this is what you're going to do. Come on. Moving on. David Peralta is another player I like. He's been in and out of the lineup too, so keep an eye out on him. Cueto, not the greatest of matchups, but not the worst either. He's been prone to blow-ups this year. Arizona is a bit of a launching pad, although I haven't really checked out the weather yet today. 3.2 on DK, also 3.2 on FanDuel. Not really interested on FanDuel, but he's a nice bargain outfielder on DK. Right along those same lines, going back to Boston this time, Chris Young might be one of my favorite plays. Being a platoon player has kept his price way down. He's been doing well in all of these Boston massive run total games. 3.2 on DK, 2.1 on FanDuel. Much better bargain on FanDuel, obviously, but I still like him on DK a whole lot because he's still, for DK, he's still a bargain. And then also another Yankee, Carlos Beltran. He had double dong day, not yesterday, day before, somewhere in there. He's been doing well all season, kind of a bit of a renaissance season for the man. 2.8 on FanDuel, total giveaway there. 3.4 on DK, still like him at that price. And then, he's expensive, but you can't go wrong with Boston at this point. Mookie Betts, 4.9 on DK, but he's 4.4 on FanDuel, which is pretty reasonable. And given all the other value out there, you might be able to get a guy like Mookie into your lineups too. Leadoff hitter, hits with power. He's what you want. He gets on base a lot. He's what you want in a cash game lineup. And then the last DK value option, assuming he gets in the lineup, Alex Presley for Milwaukee has been doing really well. If he's at the top of the lineup, he's bare minimum 2K on DK. If he's at the top of the lineup, he's as close to a must play as things get for me. I don't believe in must plays, but I want him in my lineup. I want to save salary there if I can. If he's kind of at the bottom of the lineup, he's been hitting 7th the last couple days. I still like him a lot. I'm not as gung-ho about it. I don't know. Got to think about it. Come by the Slurve chat, and I'll keep you updated on my thoughts throughout the day. We got a nice crew just hanging out, talking baseball and talking dong finding. I'll be going over some of those options in the chat, as well as putting out the video in a little bit here. Try to get that done as soon as possible for you, but I'm running late today, as you may notice. So without further ado, this has been Cash Game Cornerstones for Thursday, May 12th. I am Steve Repsold. This is Slurve. Hope you've enjoyed it. Good luck. Come by the chat, slurve.com.